We're talking about people's lives here. And the ultimate goal of everything I do, everything you do, everything is to promote lives of competence, dignity, and quality. And if I can't do that, then I should be doing something else.
Welcome to IDD Leader, where human services leaders grow their impact, lead with heart, and build the workplaces our field deserves. I'm your host, Nate Beers. Let's dive in. What should you do about burnout in yourself or in someone on your team? And what does it look like to adjust your personal leadership style for the betterment of those who are working for you? In today's conversation with Dr. Peter Gerhardt, you're going to hear his take on those things and so many more. In his own words, he sort of gets a little philosophical on us as he's sharing these different things. Dr. Gerhardt is the executive director of Epic Programs in New Jersey. He's the author of numerous peer-reviewed research articles, and he's the co-author of the book Make It Meaningful, along with being on multiple advisory board positions with names such as Cambridge and Behavior Analysis in Practice. In other words, he knows a lot. But along with all those accolades, he's actually just an exceptionally good communicator, which means you're in for a treat in listening to today's episode. Frankly, it's like a masterclass in great leadership, and I think you're going to love it. Today's conversation is part 2. If you want to hear part 1, that was last week's episode release, and probably it'll tee up today's very nicely, but I'm sure you can jump in with where we're at today as well. Now, stick around to the end of the conversation. I'll share with you a resource to help your frontline supervisors level up their leadership as you are trying to level up yours. Without further ado, enjoy today's conversation. Let's talk about supervision for a moment. And I always try to at least steer part of the conversation kind of towards staff retention, engagement, these kinds of things. What leadership behaviors, listening you've already talked about, but in addition to listening, what leadership behaviors from, say, mid-level managers or maybe even frontline supervisors, but what do you think has the biggest impact on long-term staff retention?
Well, like I said at the beginning, like I'm a behavioral analyst. So like one of my big things is like just a commitment to the field, to really being, um, and I know like some people outside of our field like think we're just like, pigeon people, and rat people, and like, no, it's a huge field. It's like it's fascinating. Like through behavior analysis, I could stop speeding tomorrow if somebody would let me do. I don't want to do it, but I could because all I have to do, and the technology is there, is set up in every car. If it ever goes above 70 miles an hour, it prints out a ticket out of your dashboard and deducts $140 from your checking account. Like
You're
I
right.
would stop speeding.
Speeding would end real quick.
Right then and there. But that's behavior now. So now we're not going to do that because that would infringe on too many people's freedoms and all this. So it's not going to. But like that's the power of behavior analysis if you really want to look at how we do it. So it's got to be a commitment to this field is the first thing. The second thing, if you don't love these guys, if you don't love these students, if you don't love these adults, if you don't think there is so much potential here that's untapped, don't bother me. Like, so I need you to believe. That's like nobody's ever allowed to say, he can't learn that, because the real statement is, no, you can't teach that.
You can't teach it. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I've heard that. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the real statement. So how do we figure out to teach it, and then go from there? I think honesty in a staff person relative to like what they're doing and who they're doing it with and their program, like another thing just about behavior analysis, it's when like, because it's just about the data. Like I can take my ego out of it. Like I may think I have a great idea and we implement it and it sucks. But I have the data to say it sucked. And I go, okay, let's try your idea. Like I don't have to ever get into like this ego battle of it. Well, it's my idea and you just didn't do it right. If you did it right, it would work. I was like, no, I don't have to do that. I just trust the data, and I go from there. And then I think, you have to, the staff that are immediately below me just have to respect the staff that are immediately below them.
Hmm.
This is a tough job no matter how you cut it. Um, and I have staff who get hit, who get bit, who get spit on, who get kicked, um, sometimes by very large adults, sometimes by little tiny kids, doesn't matter. And they're making less than they can make at a McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I better have a belief in them, um, and make sure that they know they feel appreciated and they feel, otherwise, um, I'm going to end up at two staff out of 40.
Yeah. I think I think there's really I agree with what you're saying. I think there's a lot to be said for that. That even like at the earlier you were saying how the clients or the students, they're kind of at the top of the hierarchy. But then it seems to me when in my talks with various leaders at successful organizations, they really see their organizational hierarchy in an upside down manner. That the triangle goes the other direction. That they see
Absolutely.
the people they serve, the individuals, absolute top, but the very next people on that totem pole or on that hierarchy are that frontline
Yep.
staff.
Yep.
And I think that to me, I keep hearing that as a common thread through multiple conversations. That because I think when people see it that way, it what you said about the value, just respect, or I think you
Uh-huh.
use the word respect, but that respect, I think that comes through in lots and lots of little decisions that supervisors or management are making. That it's not just they got to get their employees to do this, but that
Right.
it's like how can I serve you to help you have the best job experience that you can. That you're yes, I have things I want you to do, of course, but how am I making this work for you,
Yep.
not just for the compliance and not just for the client.
Right. Right.
Never in exchange for doing it for the client, but just that there's got to be win-wins all the way
Yeah.
around.
No, when I first got to Epic, my first board meeting, I explained just basically what you said, that like my first responsibility is to the students. My second responsibility is to their families. My third responsibility is to the staff. Like, if I meet all those responsibilities, I've met my responsibility to the board.
Hmm.
But it doesn't start with the board. Like, the
Yeah.
board is the beneficiary of all those policies. They are not the reason for all those policies, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. It's like tech companies try to play the shareholders. They just get passed up real quick
Yeah. Yep.
because that you have the customer. You have to play to the customer.
Yeah.
And in our case, in our field, it's to the individuals being served and then their families and the staff. When
Yeah.
you, um, I actually have no idea how long ago did you come on at Epic?
10 years.
10 years.
I just had my 10th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Was it a significant? Uh, have you had to not had to change the culture there? I mean, has it been a significant work to kind of shift towards more meaningful outcomes, or were they just so like already on board with that it was just such a natural fit for you?
It was somewhere between the two.
Okay.
Um, it was, and the executive director before me was a very smart, very dedicated behavior analyst. Um, and Epic was sort of like a really good, well run clinic program. I came in and made it into a very good ABA based school,
Hmm.
which I think there's a big difference
Hmm.
between. The second thing that we did is we put significant emphasis on community based instruction. Like, even our youngest students, like our 5 and 6 year olds, have community based instruction.
Wow.
Well, yeah, why? Because his 5 and 6 year old brother like has community based. We don't call it community based instruction if you're a typical 5 year old. We just call it going out in the community with mom.
Yeah.
You know, but he still needs that level of, um, practice and intervention and education. So we start there. So between like this switch to being a school and this focus on the community, because whether it's the adult program or the school program, like especially the school program, like once a student graduates, he'll never be in a classroom again for the rest of his life. And our field is really good at making good students.
Hmm.
We're not so good at making good adults. So our whole focus is on making competent adults, who can navigate their environment with supports. Like, we're not saying I haven't, quote unquote, cured anybody, you know, but my goal is to give you a life and one you like. But that's also then becomes an ongoing thing because at 65, like my life is very different today than it was when I was 25.
Sure.
So now how do I use that same principle with my students who are just graduating from the school this year? And I can like figure out like, okay, I've known them for 10 years now, but what's 10 years from now going to look like for them?
Hmm.
It's a hard job. I have to tell you.
Is it? No, I'm just kidding.
Whenever I start talking about it, I go, oh my God, what
It's
am I freaking
it's,
crazy?
it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
No, it's not. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and there's so many layers and levels to be considering kind of all at once or all in tension with each other, and that I think that there's a lot of complex situations
Right,
or places where you feel like, well, gosh, what's best is completely not feasible. So now we actually just have to figure out what's best with what is feasible.
right.
And yeah, and I hear that just that bent towards meaningful outcomes or future focused, and
That's all it is.
yeah, and I think that's it matters a lot because
Yep,
they grow up and then you're right,
yeah,
they don't keep going back to school,
yep,
and so it's those other behaviors and other skills really that matter more.
yeah, yeah. And if I can get staff to buy into that, then that's the win. Um, and I'm usually like 80. I think I'm like 80% successful, maybe a little bit higher sometimes. Um, Hopefully not lower um, than that. But one thing I was going to say is we were talking earlier, and like Angela Rodriguez, who's the clinical coordinator here, she handles all the day to day programming stuff here, and she does it extraordinarily well. Um, One of the things I do whenever I introduce her to outside people is I always say, "This is Angela uh, Rodriguez. She's our clinical person. She's the one who actually does the hard work here. I'm just the one who gets to take credit for it when I talk about it."
Hmm.
And it's this acknowledgement of like our different roles that yes, I get to talk about it, but I also have to acknowledge the fact that I can't do what I do without her. You know,
Yeah.
she can't do what she does without me, but then there are people below her who can't do what they do without her. And I think that's how that system has to work, all the way through. Um, so that at the end of the day, it's this mutually supportive feedback loop when we're done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that I'm completely tracking with what you're saying. I can't tell you how many times where I've gone to do just some kind of staff training, and I got to say, listen, you know more than I do, and
right.
I'm you know more than I do, and you're doing a harder job than I'm doing. So first of all, thank you. Now we can
Yeah,
talk a little bit about behaviors or about what it looks like to whatever it is we're working on. But
right.
that I mean, it's the people in the trenches really that are in my mind the heroes around
No,
here.
100%. Like, you know, they are the ones, who make on a day-to-day basis make the big differences. They make the
Yeah,
immediate differences,
yeah,
and we need to recognize that. And, unfortunately, I tell my staff, like, I think they all should make $100,000 a year, but I also tell them that's not going to make you better at this. You know, to get better at this, you just have to want to be better at this. That's the only thing. I'm not going to stand there like an ATM and like every time you do something right, give you another $10.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. But if you want to do this, I really do think the value, you know, direct line staff change people's lives. Like they change people's lives for the better. That's their job description. And we need to understand that and respect that. And um, like I said, I just get to brag about what they do.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you a question that gets a little bit more at your kind of personal leadership style, I guess, and you can feel free to field this however you'd like.
Okay.
Um, I was wondering if you could share a time when you had to shift your own leadership style. Maybe it was your communication or the way you're doing feedback or expectations, and that it led to better outcomes for your team or for the individuals you're serving.
Um, I tend to be very casual in all my interactions. Like I'm not a suit and tie type of guy. Um, you know, um, I'm here today with a tangerine polo on. You know, I could have gotten dressed up, but I was like, nah, that's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but there are times where formality is the way to go. And honestly, that was like a hard lesson for me
Hmm.
to learn because being informal and being funny and being, engaging and is so reinforcing, you know, um, that when I have to sit down um, and just be um, serious and blunt, it it's effortful.
Hmm.
But it's so important, like that I do that. Um, what was it? Something like um, she didn't say a staff person of mine like blunt is kind. Like that wasn't what she said, but it was something like that.
Okay.
You know, as opposed to talking for 25 minutes while they try and figure out what it is I'm actually trying to talk about. Um, and you can see like I can talk, like I can go on and like you know,
Yeah.
but just to say no, this is what I need you to do. This is why I need you to do it, and this is what I need you to do it by. you know, then we're okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that is the biggest change that I still have to work with. Um, that I'm not good at. Um, but sometimes it is very much the right thing to do. I know there are some people who that's how they operate.
Yeah.
You know, and more power to you if that works for you, if that works for your staff. You know, I'm much more comfortable as sort of a higher ranking team member than the boss. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand. And for the folks that go more naturally the other direction, they're probably trying to learn learn the
right?
other way, learn how to be a little bit more casual, or know that oh, we didn't actually need to document that time. I was just trying to tell them a little feedback, like every just loosening up a bit, probably for some folks, or
Yeah,
being more casual. But no, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah. I have to like one of the best and worst thing that happened is we hired 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we hired a new principal, Jen Kaufman, who's really, really good in giving staff feedback, and very good at giving like direct staff feedback. Which, on one level, it's good because now we have someone who really can do that and do that really well. On another thing, it took me off the hook. You
Oh, I see.
know,
I see.
and so that's really a bad thing. Like, so I realized just a couple months ago that I'd gotten very complacent with not having to do that. So I have to get back into the mix and relearn whatever skills I've now lost in doing it.
Yeah.
It's nice when you have someone who can stand up and do that for you. Um, but I still have to be able to do it myself. Um,
Yeah.
and that's my shout out to Jen.
Okay.
So,
There you go. Hopefully she's listening to this episode.
right, right. I got Angela and I got Jen, so I'm
That's
done.
right. That's good.
Good.
You're scoring some points with your staff here. This is
There you go.
working out well.
There we go. Very good.
How about burnout? Is this something again to the level you want to share, but that either you've ever felt professionally or that you had to help someone on your team who was maybe teetering on the edge, and then what did you do?
I think if you look in the organizational behavior management literature, like burnout um, tends to have a direct connection to competence, like how competent people feel. Now, that's just one of the factors which then goes back to good training, which then goes to this whole, um, everything we've talked about so far today. There was a point in my career, probably around year 20, that was the only time I ever thought about quitting.
Hmm.
And it wasn't, let's say, dissatisfied in the field, but I wanted to do something different, I thought. Um, I was living just outside of New York City. I was in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I wanted to work in the city, um, and had no skills to do anything other than what I've done my whole life. So that was just some big fantasy I had. You know, I would I would read the want ads in the Sunday Times and go, "Oh yeah, I could do that." Like, oh yeah. um, but thankfully that passed. I got no callbacks, not here, no job offers, no callbacks, no nothing. So I just kept doing what I'm doing. But I think it's a big issue in the field. Um, I think what I would like to see people, and I do have people who do this, um, and like I said, it's easy to research things now. Like, do more of that stuff on your own, because that gives you a sense of competence that you've like found some of the research that's out there. And other people are having, even if it's not what's going to fix your problem. Now that other people have dealt with the same problem.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I think that that's a big um, issue related to burnout. It's a tough field. I don't have the answer, and I don't know that right now we have anybody on the edge of burnout. But I also know that I've always had people who were on the edge of burnout who didn't tell me. You know, um, so that's a problem too. Like, how do I get people to confide in me or in Angela or in Jen, um, so that we can, and not salvage their career, save their career. Salvage has like this association with junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to like save their career because chances are they're pretty good people because they care. So that's why they got burnt out because they care.
Hmm.
Um, I'm getting very philosophical here in my head, you
Yeah.
know?
That's great. No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I wish I knew better. It's overwhelming, this field. Like when you really think about what it is we're trying to do. Because now I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I really got to get back into the research on burnout and see what burnout's.
Yeah.
Because it's a endemic. Just like it's next to impossible to hire staff right now.
Oh,
Uh, and that's
absolutely.
everywhere across every program. So how do we make us more attractive? Like, what is it that is keeping people away from us? Is it the salary? Maybe. Is it the perception of being a teacher's aide or a DSP, direct service professional? Like, maybe, but you know, I do think one of the things, especially with the adult world, if we want to help reduce burnout, we need to professionalize the field.
Hmm.
It needs to be that, like, yes, I am a DSP. I have a valued job. I do important, good work. I am paid what I'm worth. Um, my opinions are taken into the discussion. They're not always accepted and redacted upon, but when they're not, it's explained. Um, you know, like in order to work in my school, you know, you need chances are you're going to need a master's degree of some kind, and then a criminal background check, and all these other things. Internship, student teaching, like all of this stuff to work in my adult program. You know, driver's license, criminal background check, and you're 18. Now, what does that tell you? Where our values lie. You know, the and these are incredibly important jobs. You know, like we don't have to, especially in the adult world, hire people who have college degrees, but we do hire college degrees because it's been our experience, at least, or my experience, at least, over my career, that if we hire someone with a college degree, no matter what, they will tend to stay a year because they want it on their resume that they had a job for a year. They don't want to quit after 3 months.
I love it. It's very pragmatic. I like that.
It's very
You make
pragmatic.
it you make it past like the dreaded 90-day or 100-day mark.
Yes, yes, yep. But at the flip time, I will tell you, I've had two staff, one in the school and one in the adult program, who had high school diplomas, and they were brilliant. Like they could do this stuff. They couldn't discuss it with you, but they just knew how to do it. So, see, now I'm off on another tangent about
No,
hiring.
this is good. No, this is good. This is
Holy
good.
cow!
Well, listen, while you're really philosophical, I have a question that might fit generally in that
Okay,
category, or at least kind
I,
of. If you can think back to maybe your first year in a top leadership role, whether this
mhm,
is 10 years ago or maybe even earlier, maybe when it was another kind of top leadership
mhm.
role, what advice would you wish you could give your former self in that moment of when you're just there trying to figure it out, like, oh, snap, I'm the dude, I'm the guy?
Um, I think the advice I wish I could have given myself is details matter.
Hmm.
You know, um, especially when you get to be like the executive director. Like there are diagrams that said, "Oh, well, I'm supposed to be at 5,000 feet," and then there's like the clinical person who's supposed to be at 1,000 feet, and then like the teacher who's supposed to be at 50 feet, and like, you know, no, I got to know what's going on at 50 feet. You know, yeah, it's not a matter of trust. It's not a matter of looking over a person's shoulder. It's not about like I can't make the decisions I need to make without that information. You know, coming back up to me, and like so, my vision has to be at 5,000 feet, but it has to also then I have to look at the horizon while looking at the ground at the same time. So details matter in what, and that's probably where I've made most of my mistakes, is in not attending the way I should have to detail. Um, so yeah, that's what I can put on my tombstone. He should have attended to more detail. Like R.I.P. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay. That's insightful. I mean, that's really insightful. Now, if we were to if we could fast forward 10 years, which we don't want to do, right? We got to live in the present here, but if we
Right.
could, and you could describe an IDD service agency that fully embraced your vision of what you have been talking about today, but really almost like your life's message, okay, for lack of a better way of putting it. What what would be different in how they train or supervise or lead their staff? Or what would you feel what would people feel when they walk through those doors? Paint a
Yeah,
picture
I
for
think
me.
one of the big things that we would do is we would have started really working collaboratively with the business world, like as part of this transition process. Not just doing internships, but really having it set up so that when you graduate, you have a job. Not just that you got to do this job at Marshall's for, as an internship. but that you really then graduated into a job. And, if you look at, like some of the stuff like, Walgreens does, like they had developed like whole service systems for people with different disabilities within their company. And I think then, Sephora also does a lot of stuff like that. But, pairing what I'm doing with a company like that, in which Walgreens, there's probably 150 different jobs that my guys can do. Some who have to wear ties, some who are working in a warehouse, and everything like in between. Um, but that way we get to really match people to what they're supposed to be doing. We have job coaches who are they can see the value of the work they're doing, because it's right in front of them, you know. And I think that for me, like that would mean I could actually like go to my grave happy if I could set up something. I'm gonna go happy anyway. What the hell? But um,
He missed the details, but people are working. There we
yes,
go.
exactly. That's what it is. So
So that's that. I'm just changing your tombstone for you there.
thank you. I like that. Yep. So that would be, but and then like I said, but we would professionalize the field, and it would be like we can't go right away to this. It's a degree requirement because we'll lose half the people we have right now. But we have to make sure that there's standards that are set for this. Like I keep coming back. We're talking about people's lives here. And the ultimate goal of everything I do, everything you do, everything is to promote lives of competence, dignity, and quality. And if I can't do that, then I should be doing something else. You know, um,
Yeah,
I hear McDonald's is hiring.
absolutely. Absolutely. I know that I don't know what's happening with this in New Jersey. I know that different states have been, some more than others, really embracing like DSP credentialing. Not
Yes.
not the degree, not a degree piece, but the credential piece where they go
Yep.
through different training. Some have state specific, some just adopt it from the NADSP out of New York.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think I think we're going to keep seeing more of a push for that.
So do I.
And I think that's a good thing because you're right that the people that have been in this for a while, the on that direct support professionals have been there a while. I mean, it's not just caretaking like that. It's such a
No.
it's much more advanced, complex skills than
Yes.
that because you're trying to provide as much support as needed, but also the least amount of support needed to help support autonomy, independence, and it's this giant paradox.
Yep.
Um, and the ones that get it that to get it right are phenomenal. And every organization is sort of just says, please never leave, no matter what you do,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
they're the
Yep.
backbone of the whole operation.
100%. You got it right. Yes.
And so
I
yeah,
know.
so that's that. I hope that, and I think it will, but continue to grow the
Yeah, I
credentialing
think so
to
too.
and professionalization of that as a career path, not just. Um, I mean, not that it's bad, but not just sort of that like first year out of
Right.
college job,
Right.
and then go
Right.
on to bigger and better things in
Yeah.
air quotes, but that it can really be a
Yeah.
career
No,
path.
absolutely. Take care of that, will you?
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I, I think we'll kind of wrap it up here soon. But if someone wants to, I mean, if they Google your name, they're going to find some of your literature. They're going to find, but give a little
Mhm.
plug for. I think you have a book that's not that. It's pretty newly released. Or how
Yeah.
can they connect with you or follow up on the kinds of ideas you're sharing here today?
Um, if you go to meaningful, hang on, I got to look at it now. um, I think it's meaningfulhope.com. Um, is the publisher. Make it meaningful. LLC is what it is. If you that'll take you to our website, where you can get it. It's a big book.
Okay.
Um,
And that's the
but
title of the book. Is that the title of the book too? Make it
just
meaningful.
make it meaningful. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So creating programs that matter into adulthood for learners with ASD and related disorders.
Okay.
and we really targeted to. It was supposed to. We tried to walk that middle ground between like highly educated professionals and educated parents. You know, I think there's kind of a myth that like you have to dumb it down for parents. Like all the parents I work with are pretty smart, are pretty dedicated. You know, so I don't have to dumb down anything.
Yeah.
you know, like I just stayed away from like some of the more technical language aspects of it. You know, so
So it's an accessible book. I mean,
yes,
people that, because most of the people that I'm talking with don't have a behavior analysis background whatsoever. I mean,
right,
often they
and you
start
don't.
as a DSP and they fell in love with the field, and then 20 years, 30 years later, they're running the
Yep,
the whole operation. So you
yeah.
don't need to have a behavioral
You don't
degree
have to
to
know jack
understand.
about behavior analysis.
Perfect. So it's an easy entry level for someone
Yes.
that wants to see how that plays
Yeah.
out. Okay,
Yeah. No,
wonderful.
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I'll put that in the show notes too,
Okay.
that
Cool.
people can find that.
Thank you.
Um, well, it's been wonderful to have you on the show today.
It's been a great pleasure.
Yeah, loved hearing the different, just tons of quotable nuggets that you shared, and and I'm glad that you got a chance to get philosophical there. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Doesn't happen often, but I like it too. So
Okay, well, thank you very
thank you.
much. Wow, wow, wow. That was like another masterclass in leadership in our field of working with individuals with disabilities. Wow, I'm still reflecting on all the various things he shared, but here's one that kind of stuck with me was as he was sharing the advice he would give his younger self. I want to invite you with this next step, and at the risk of it seeming a little too fluffy, what's the advice that your future self would probably be giving you right now? Maybe you already can see it, maybe not. If you don't feel like there's a clear answer to that, then ask someone in your life or a colleague or someone that you look up to, what are they seeing that you're not seeing? And probably they've got good insight on that. Now, I know that's kind of a vulnerable thing to do, but a lot of times we can fast forward our growth as leaders and we can make our team so much stronger and healthier and sticking around longer if we can address whatever those areas are that don't come naturally to us. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to give you space to reflect on that for a minute. Now, about the resource I promised. If you want to get this playbook for your frontline supervisors to help them level up their leadership, just go to iddleader.com/supervisor. It's a free PDF download, and it even includes a checklist where they can kind of track their own progress as they're just trying to implement some basic but powerful leadership moves. And lastly, I have put in the show notes the contact information or the next step information that Dr. Gerhardt shared with us. And that way you can follow up and check out his book or whatever else you want to do to learn more about the amazing work that he has been doing and has already done. Well, until next time, here's to you, difference maker. Keep up the amazing work.